Let's talk about sex. More specifically, sex education here in the United States. Tell me, who here has received some type of sex education or talked about sex in a health class? All right, keep your hand up if you have received a sex education talking about same-sex relationships. Keep your hand up if you have had a sex education that's talked about transgender issues. What about different sexual orientations? So not that many of you, and I'm not that surprised. Studies have shown that less than 12% of millennials have had any kind of sex education where they've talked about same-sex relationships. To many, the idea of sex education probably isn't all that pressing, especially whether or not it includes same-sex relationships. But as a queer student myself, the topic of sex education affects me every day. Throughout the United States, queer students are not included in sex ed curriculums, and it's having a drastic effect on their sexual health. How did we get here? How did sex ed become a part of our curriculum? I had to have the picture somewhere. So initially, in the late 1800s, support grew for sex ed due to syphilis outbreaks in the United States as a way to regulate sexuality. Up until the 1960s and the 1970s, sex ed was also a way to regulate sexuality, but more specifically, sexual abnormalities, including but not limited to prostitution, masturbation, contracting STIs, and homosexuality. Despite this beginning, in 1970, Title X was introduced to the Public Health Services Act, which provided funding for family planning services and educational programs. And in 1976, Title X was expanded to include sex ed specifically, including contraceptive education and resources for communities to have sexual education programs. Unfortunately, in 1981, the Adolescent Life Act passed, which provided funding for abstinence-only programs, and by 1996, over $250 million of federal funding was going to abstinence-only education programs. So where are we now? At the moment, in 2016, only 4 states require positive information on same-sex relationships. Those 4 states are California, Colorado, Iowa, and Washington. Meanwhile, 5 other states do require that that same-sex relationships do be discussed in sex ed, but in a negative way, saying that homosexuality is disgusting, that it is unhealthy, or that it's even illegal. Studies have shown that less than 5% of LGBT youth have experienced any kind of positive representation in sex ed. And as a young queer teen myself, I can attest to that, unfortunately. Right now, 8 states outright ban any kind of conversation on same-sex relationships in sex ed. When we're not teaching our queer students about how to have safe sex, how to talk about consent, how to have healthy communication or healthy relationships, we're not giving them the proper resources to live a healthy lifestyle that their heterosexual peers have always had access to and that queer students have a right to. Studies have shown that students who receive an abstinence-only education and are LGBT have consistently received more verbal harassment and a lack of faculty support in the school space. Meanwhile, students who have learned about LGBT relationships have been shown to be more opening to these types of relationships. When we're not teaching our students about same-sex relationships, we're failing to make school a more accepting and open-minded space that so many queer students don't have at home. So, how is this affecting our students? They're not getting the information they need, so where are they getting it? Well, since studies have shown that over 50% of teenagers don't feel comfortable talking to their parents about sex, they're not getting it from their families either. And so unfortunately, many students have to go online to learn about how to have safe sex. Studies have shown that LGBT students are 5 times more likely than their heterosexual peers to look up information online on how to have safe sex. In 2016, students should be able to get information on sexuality from a reliable source. They should be educated by schools whose job is to educate them. They should be able to learn from teachers, not have to take their education into their own hands and teach themselves. When our schools are failing to teach an entire demographic of our students, we are failing to teach all of them. So students aren't getting the information they need, and they're not getting reliable, consistent information. So how is this affecting them? Well, they're not having the proper tools that they need in order to have safe and healthy sex lives. Right now, Queer girls aged 13 to 25 are significantly more likely to contract STIs. Meanwhile, 2/3 of all HIV cases are made up of young queer boys. Trans students are significantly more likely to experience sexual violence, and overall queer teens are significantly more likely to be pressured into having sexual partners at a younger age. Not only are we failing to educate queer teenagers, we're putting them in danger by sending them into the world without the proper tools to have safe sex. So when we're not teaching our queer students about safe sex, we're not providing them with no reliable information, we're not providing them with a more accepting school space, and we're not providing them the support they need to have healthy and safe sex. I have a quote. The quote is by Thomas Davis, a human rights campaign youth ambassador. He says, "It's not right to limit the knowledge that students receive. When I'm not given information, I'm forced to learn on a trial and error basis, and there are some errors that you really can't fix." Thomas Davis has contracted HIV and is an example of the dangers that queer students are put in when they're not given information on how to have safe sex. So we know this is a problem. We know that queer students aren't getting the information they need, they're not getting it from a reliable source, and this is having a really drastic effect on their sexual health. What can I do? What can I do as a high school student? What can I do as a parent? What can I do as an administrator? What can I do to affect something that is often designated by the law? Well, you can talk about it. Ask questions. In class, as a student, say, well, does this apply to queer students? Does this apply to same-sex relationships? Does this work for people who are having sex who are the same body type? Bring up the conversation. Talk about it. As a parent, ask your community, why aren't we teaching our students this necessary topic? Why aren't we talking about this? Why are we keeping this taboo? As citizens, we can talk to our senators, we can sign bills, we can be active, we can support bills that are in Congress right now to further sex education. There's a risk that comes with this. There's a risk that comes with any kind of support for the LGBT movement. Others may assume that you're pushing some kind of agenda. Others may assume that you're pushing some kind of lifestyle. Others may assume you're gay yourself. These are the kind of risks that come with any kind of allyship. But it's important that allies push back these assumptions about them and continue to support the LGBT movement, especially our queer youth and the education that they receive. It is important as allies to use your voice in order to speak up for those who can't speak for themselves. Thank you.